I'm a little lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the badger, just a little bit on my hands, just to help the clay from sticking there. Then when you rip the top off of this little line here, this is a Ziploc. So when you open your clay up, make sure you don't rip that Ziploc off of there. Now, it comes wrapped in plastic. PMC3, now Plus will not do this, but PMC3 will always stick to the clay, to the plastic here. So what I want you to do is take your little knife that you got and just run down the side of this and just open that up. So that when you open it, you can open up flat, and then you can pull this, just take your thumb and just kind of wipe that clay off and put it back on the pad. Okay?
Not very much, is it?
That's 16. This is actually, well, this one is a little bit bigger pack. They had a special going for one time. This is actually, the full weight of this is 20 grams. 16 grams of this is silver. So some of that's going to go away. All right, so I'm going to take my little white piece of paper. I'm going to put my badger on it. Okay. Now I'm going to take, I usually start with the whole pad just because I know that's what I want to do. Now I'm going to put my 4 card, your thickness slats, whether it's cards or slats or whatever you're using, has to be at the same level of your clay. Now this isn't, such a big thing when you're first rolling it out, but when you put your texture down, if you don't have it at the same level as the clay, then you're going to end up with something that's a lot thinner than what you thought you were going to get. All right, so all I'm doing with the 4 card is I'm just making it so that it's a nice, even, flat piece. Okay. You don't want to spend a lot of time with that, just kind of do that basic roll out. Now I'm going to take a little bit of badger, not very much, and just kind of spread it very thinly over my surface. And I'm going to take my brush, a little bit of badger, and I'm going to scrub it onto my texture. Again, you don't need a huge amount, because the more badger that you work into this clay, the more it's going to get ornery on you. You'll say to a point where I'm tired, I don't mind anymore.
That's very
so now the trick with the texturing is, a lot of people, they've got their clay rolled out here and they go like this. You don't know if you've got one specific spot on that texture that you want. You don't know where it's at. So take your texture, lay it down, and then you can take your clay and put it right on that specific point that you want.
Okay, that just looks like silly putty. Does it look like silly putty to anybody else?
Okay, so now I'm going to go down to my 3 card.
Okay.
You put them on top of your texture. Now, what if I wanted something that was right in the corner of a texture? Then what I'd do is I'd go find another piece, another texture that is the same, usually the same company, and it's the same thickness. Then I can put this card on that texture and this one on this one. So don't ever have this card down lower than what your clay is. So I'm going to put my cards up there. Now, if I started down here and rolled up, more than likely this would just pick right up onto my roller, and then you would go back down and you'd get ghost shadows. So when you've got it on your texture, put your roller right in the middle, press down, roll completely off the clay, come back to the middle, and roll back down. And if you want to, you can do one more roll just for good measure. Now, if you don't know, some people are a little timid about the pressure. Don't pull this thing off of here and say, oh, I have to do it again, and then you got to wad it back up and start all over. Just take a peek at it. See, make sure that you got your texture nice and into the clay. And there it is. Wow. So now I've got my texture. Now I'm going to go back to my white sheet.
Ayn Rand industrial.
And then I'm going to take my template. Now remember that this is going to shrink 10%. So kind of with these templates, you can kind of play with, if I cut out this one, it might be not quite that small, but it'll be smaller. But you've got to remember that this is all the clay you have to work with, unless you're going to go buy some more.
Wow.
So if I want my my pendant to be my prominent piece, I can go in here with this, and I'll still have plenty of clay left to do a smaller piece for the earrings. Okay, so kind of play with the, with your design. And I like that, so I'm going to take my knife. Now, these knives are very sharp, the points are. So don't push way down on this because you're going to cut through the paper and through the table and, So just very lightly, just run your knife right around that.
So you don't have to put the bee balm on
No, this is
balm on
fine.
And if I wanted to, that piece you just cut away and,
Mhm.
and rolled up, could I use that as my piece? I could just,
Sure.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so I've got this piece now. It's real clean. It's what I like. There's, and if you get little jagged edges on this, you can, you can take a damp finger, just moisten, and just kind of run the edge a little bit. But don't really worry about it because when this is dry, we're going to be sanding it. Okay? So I've got this piece. It's pretty, but you know what? I want to give it some form. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to grab this little guy. This is a Wilton flower former.